Hey, this is Tony with Salt Strong, and in this video we're going to be discussing some reel maintenance and more specifically your drag systems on spinning reels. Now the drag system is located within the spools on the reels, so all you have to do is take the spool off and then you can access the actual drag washers that are inside of them. And depending on the type of reel or the type of spool will depend on how you can access them. Some reels, as you can see this one here, when you take that top cap off, you can see this one has a couple screws that you have to remove. So you will need a Phillips head or a pointed head screwdriver. And then other reels will have a spring on the inside, such as this one here. And having a small flathead screwdriver will definitely help take that spring out. As you can see, it's right in there. You just put that flathead screwdriver in there and pull the spring up. And just set it aside, make sure you don't lose it, and then you have access to the washers inside there. Now for this spool here, I'm going to go ahead and take these screws off just to show you. Take those screws out, make sure you put those screws aside so you don't lose them. I usually like to do this on a towel or a rag, that way I can put the screws on it, and any pieces that I take off I can put on the towel, and that keeps them from bouncing away off the table or rolling away. So just a little tip there. But set those screws aside, and then you can take that top cap off. Should just pop right out of there. Set that aside as well. Definitely make sure you know which side is up, which side is down. So just set it to the side. Then you have access to the washers there. Now when you take these out, it's very important to make sure they go back in the same way you took them out. So what I like to do is just turn the reel upside down or turn the spool upside down, pop them out, and you can see they came out there. And then visually inspect the inside where the washers rest. If there's any dirt or debris in there, you definitely want to make sure that is cleaned out, because as you can see, there is a felt washer on the bottom. It could be felt, it could be cloth. Some of your higher end reels are going to have carbon, but these felt washers are very fragile. They can get torn up very quickly and they can burn up very quickly. So if you have any sand or dirt in there, it's going to be rubbing on that washer and it's going to make your drag very sticky, and it will definitely tear up that felt or cloth washer. So when you're inspecting these washers, you definitely want to make sure they're not cracked or broken or torn up or worn down quite a bit. So just inspect that, and then also it is good to clean these washers off. You can use a solvent to clean all the old grease off, or you can just wipe them off with a paper towel or a rag. Just do a quick wipe, get any debris or anything off of there. And then you want to have some type of drag grease with you. I don't have any with me at this moment, but you can get some online on Amazon or a reel repair shop, and you would just make sure that these felt washers are nice and greased. Just get a little bit on your fingertips, rub it all around these felt or cloth washers, and then put them all back together properly. Again, making sure you alternate the cloth or the felt, then the metal, cloth or felt, then metal. And then when you do put these back in, what you want to make sure of, as you can see, there is a little notch on either side here. There's one on this side, there's one on the other side. Make sure that lines back up on the spool so that your washers are nice and flat. That one will usually fall off. I'll just lay that in there first, nice and flat. Make sure it's in there and good to go. And then I will drop the rest in there, like so. And there you go, it's put back together. So again, just make sure those felt washers are cleaned off and greased properly. Make sure they are not torn up. Make sure there's no any debris or material inside the actual drag system, because that will definitely make it sticky and have your drag acting up. Now, one thing about the carbon and the ceramic washers is that you don't have to grease them. The reason for the grease is to help keep the felt and the cloth from burning up. So ceramic and carbon, they can handle very, very high temperatures. So they're definitely a higher end type of washers. But again, you don't have to grease those. So all you have to do is just visually inspect them, make sure they're not cracked or damaged, and then you're good to go. You can either replace them or keep them in there if they are looking good. So I'm going to go ahead and put the cap back on here, and I'm going to give you a little tip if you do have to deal with these small screws. And what you can do is put a little bit of grease on the tip of your screwdriver, or you can, if you have some magnetic screwdrivers, that is definitely going to help as well. But this just helps keep that screw on the screwdriver, so it's a lot easier to put these screws back in. Because they are so small, it can be a little bit of a pain to get these screws in if you have to actually use your fingers to put the screw in these tiny little holes. So again, just put a little dab of grease on the tip of your screwdriver, and that will help keep that screw on there. So the last thing I want to talk about with the drag system is the actual drag clicker. That's located on the underside of the spool, and it's usually going to be a little metal tab, as you can see there, with a spring attached to it. And this basically just bounces back and forth as it rubs on that serrated piece of your spinning reel. So if you ever find that your drag is not clicking anymore and it's just it almost looks like it's free spooling, then you have to check that drag clicker. Sometimes that spring might break, or it might come undone. So definitely check that out. Also put a little bit of grease on there as well, just to keep it from corroding and acting up. So that will wrap up this video on maintaining your drag systems on your spinning reels. So again, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.